Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and this is Stu's News, a review of American high-speed rail happenings over the last month. In this March 2025 episode, we'll take a look at what went down in February. This episode of Stu's News is sponsored by the High-Speed Rail Alliance. The High-Speed Rail Alliance is a people-powered nonprofit working for stronger communities and a healthier environment through the development of fast, frequent, and affordable trains. They help engaged individuals and civic leaders understand what American trains could be, why we should build them, and how to make it happen. High-speed rail strikes at the core of today's biggest challenges with our environment, the economy, and fragmented communities. Around the world, for more than half a century, high-speed rail has proven to be an affordable, safe, and reliable way to connect people and communities. We can't wait any longer to dramatically change our priorities and rapidly expand passenger train networks in the U.S. For economic growth, for freedom, for cleaner, better, more connected communities, get on board with the High-Speed Rail Alliance by checking out the link in the card and the description. Now to California high-speed rail and the biggest news of the month. Early in February, President Trump railed against California high-speed rail during an Oval Office press briefing, calling it, quote, the worst managed project and, quote, the worst thing. And he announced that he would investigate the project. He also made some outrageous claims about the budget and cost, but we'll get into that in a minute. Trump throwing down the gauntlet was followed up by Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy,
who doesn't want to go to Las Vegas,
announcing the aforementioned investigation at a press conference that took place at LA Union Station on the 20th, where he repeated the phrase fraud, waste, and abuse many times to the jeers of the most transit advocate looking crowd of transit advocates you can imagine. For some reason, a lady dressed up as a clown was there, and there was also a dinosaur. Hey, you know what you can do to support high-speed rail without heading down to LA Union Station dressed as a dinosaur? You can check out the High-Speed Rail Alliance link in the description and consider becoming a member. In the midst of all this madness, California Governor Gavin Newsom decided to launch a podcast. Many things have been said by politicians and publications alike, including boilerplate from the California High-Speed Rail Authority. Let's see if we can clarify some facts. We'll start with this social media post by California High-Speed Rail, which seems to take cues from Carl's Jr. 171 miles are under active construction. Incorrect. It is 119 miles. The extensions to Bakersfield and Merced are in the design process. There is no construction contract for either. The only way 171 miles is true is if pre-construction counts, and in that case, Brightline West has been under construction since April of last year. 50 major structures completed? Yes, in fact, it's now 52. 60 miles of guideway completed? Yes. If we look here though, there is a caveat to what complete means. In addition, they have 33 more structures and 36 miles of guideway underway. Environmentally cleared LA to San Francisco is correct. LA to Anaheim still remaining though. At the Sean Duffy,
who doesn't want to go to Las Vegas,
press conference, it was stated that $15.7 billion has been spent. You can see that's projected through June of this year, so not quite yet, but give it 6 months. On the President Trump end, no, the project is not hundreds of billions over budget. It is reasonable to say the budget has grown 3 times over in absolute dollars, or that it is 100 billion over, but not multiple hundreds. If we take the current high project cost estimate, divide it by yearly NEC ridership, divide that by a 100-year project lifespan, and then apply inflation, we get a cost of about $48 per trip, far short of what it would take to drive every potential rider by limousine. I can't believe I have to fact check a president saying this type of stuff. As far as Secretary Duffy,
who doesn't want to go to Las Vegas,
goes, he said California high-speed rail is $6.5 billion short on funding. That number is an estimate by the California High-Speed Rail Office of Inspector General for the Merced to Bakersfield section, which is currently estimated to cost around $33 to $35 billion. It is true that the Merced-Bakersfield portion could end up costing more than the initial projections for Phase 1 Anaheim to San Francisco that were in the California High-Speed Rail Authority's 2008 business plan in absolute dollars, but not with inflation applied. Another number you might see thrown around for the initial estimate is $45 billion. Many mistakenly assume that was for Phase 1 in original Prop 1A literature, but it's actually for the entire intended 800-mile project, including San Diego and Sacramento. One last Sean Duffy,
Who doesn't want to go to Las Vegas?
blurb, quote, "No high-speed rail track has been laid. That is unfortunately true. As we discussed last month, installation of high-speed rail track has now been pushed back to the second quarter of 2026. The most important part of the press conference was about compliance reviews related to two different grants. This is outlined in a letter sent to the California High-Speed Rail Authority by Federal Railroad Administration Council. One is a $929 million grant agreement from 2010 and 2011 that the Trump administration held up its first time around. They'd like to do it again. Here is the section of the agreement that the Trump administration is banking on. This provides the FRA with the ability to terminate the agreement and require the grantee to refund the entire amount. The second part is the $3.1 billion federal-state partnership for intercity passenger rail grant announced in 2023. I don't have the text for that agreement, so the mechanism of clawback is unclear. This is a multi-year grant and is supposed to have a fiscal year 2026 component that has not yet been obligated. Last month I was speculating that might amount to 10 to 20% of the total. It's actually on the high side at $615 million, and it seems like a Trump administration would more easily hold that up. In December, we talked about California high-speed rail being able to survive a second Trump administration, assuming no additional federal funding with about $2 billion to spare. Subtract $2.9 billion and it's a whole new ballgame, with the state needing to step up to the plate to avoid further major delays and cost overruns. It is worth mentioning that the FSP National Grant is valid through 2034, so a subsequent friendly administration might be able to reverse any Trump interference, much like the Biden administration did with the $929 million grant. This now puts the project in the hole somewhere in the $5 to $10 billion range, just for Merced to Bakersfield, and the California state government is looking more and more like the only savior in the short term. So what will happen? You'll just have to keep tuning into Stu's News to find out. Let's quickly hit the Central Valley reports to close out the section. Keep in mind these reports run 2 months behind and are for December of 2024. Capital outlay budget summary, $81.6 million. It's supposed to be more like $200 million. Next month, projected at $96.6 million. They're going to start running out of months to expend the remaining $1.4 billion in this year's budget. Average daily workers second lowest in a year due to a seasonal dip. Structures and guideway looking okay, slightly ahead of schedule. Railroad right-of-way property acquisition now behind schedule. We'll have to see if that affects construction package 1 any. Speaking of that, CP1 earned value chart. Schedule performance index still at 0.95, indicating 5% behind schedule. It is slipping ever so slightly though. At current pace, they get below the late line in about a year. That does it for California high-speed rail. We'll stay on the West Coast and check in with Brightline West. At the Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting on the 10th, Eric Sheets, NDOT's Brightline West project manager, gave an update to the board concerning Brightline West. Let's go through the slides presented. One more source supporting 186 miles per hour as top speed. A milestones timeline, doesn't look like we missed anything there. A general wrap-up of everything going on right now, including financing, which isn't quite covered yet. If you'd like to know more about these subjects and haven't seen it yet, check out my Brightline West Revealed video. To start heavy construction in Nevada, Brightline West needs a right-of-way occupancy permit, and that is waiting on a few things listed here. Design completion is close. The main thing they're waiting on now is, quote, ensure financial close. In the Q&A section, Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo asked Mr. Sheets when shovels might hit the ground. Mr. Sheets responded that he hoped within a couple of months. That was as of February 10th. Going back to the Sean Duffy
Who doesn't want to go to Las Vegas?
press conference, it should be noted that the secretary held Brightline West up as an example of a good high-speed rail project. We were talking last month about how the recent Trump administration freezes would affect various projects. It's possible for Brightline West, but it appears that the administration plans to be far less obstructive here than with California high-speed rail, at least for now. Last piece of Brightline West news, the city of Rancho Cucamonga announced plans to seek funding for a new parking structure at what they're calling the Brightline West Transportation Center. Based on the description, it's difficult to tell if this is for the roughly 4,000 space structure shown in various renderings, or a second structure in addition to that. That's it for Brightline West. While we're in the area, let's look at the High Desert Corridor. In materials for the HDC Joint Powers Agency January meeting, I noticed this project milestones list, which includes a couple of things I missed. 2 grant requests, one for FSP National related to the Southwest Regional Integration Project, which is a means of connecting the HDC with California High-Speed Rail and Brightline West at Palmdale and Victor Valley. I talk about that some in a video I made speculating that California High-Speed Rail might head to Palmdale before San Francisco. Check it out. That's all for HDC. Let's head out east and we'll check in with Texas Central Railway. Amtrak has put out a request for qualification for a delivery partner. What's a delivery partner? According to Amtrak, they will not design or construct the project, but provide design and construction expertise. Okay. Anyway, it should be fascinating to see who applies, considering this project is supposed to use Japanese high-speed rail technology. Could we have SNCF or Renfe consulting on an American Shinkansen? Nothing surprises me at this point. Speaking of that, a late addition fellow enthusiast Yimby Land posted the RFQ on X, and their Zeet received a somewhat ominous response from the Dark Lord Darth Musk himself. These are wild times. That's it for Texas. Moving on, but remaining in the country's middle, we'll visit our old friend, the Chicago Hub Network. This story is conveniently and poignantly covered by the High Speed Rail Alliance. Hey look, there's that Become a Member button, link in the description. The SB 1901 and HB 3285 pair of bills include $70 million for planning, design, and environmental clearance of high-speed trains running at 186 miles per hour or faster. The Illinois High-Speed Rail Commission is in the process of looking at a potentially new high-speed rail route between Chicago and St. Louis, and $70 million would certainly help that. We'll see how it goes. Sorry to be so brief, Chicago Hub Network, but we must be moving on to the east, where we'll hook up with Brightline once more in Florida. More drama between the city of Stewart and Martin County over a potential Brightline station in Stewart. Martin County wants Stewart to support their grant application. Stewart doesn't want to, despite an interlocal agreement between the two. The two parties are going to sit down on March 6th, 2025 to see if they can hug it out, lest the matter wind up in arbitration. Speaking of grants, the city of Cocoa in Brevard County has once again applied for a $46 million grant pertaining to a potential Brightline station there. Their application for a similar grant last year was rejected. Will a new administration make a difference? Lastly, let's look at some Brightline numbers. 266,346 trips for the month of January. That is up 13% from last year and ever so slightly from December of 2024, with a slight dip in ticket prices and revenues. Ridership in January 2024 dipped by a tiny amount, so this may be seasonality at play. Brightline is aiming to facilitate 400,000 trips a month in the short term, an increase of 50% over current. To accomplish that, 20 new Siemens Venture carriages are on their way from California in the next 4 months. That will result in an expansion to 7 car train sets, up from 4 last year. The monthly Brightline report also mentions that phasing for Brightline Tampa is being considered with a first phase in the Orlando area. This segues into another story about Comcast contributing $2 million to a $6 million study of the Sunshine Corridor by the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission. That corridor lines up with Brightline's Tampa Phase 1, weaving its way through various Orlando area resorts and attractions. It would connect to Orlando International Airport and be shared with Sunrail, which would also connect that to its commuter network. The story indicates the study will take 2 years. That's all for Brightline this month. Now let's check in with Acela and the NEC. According to Trains.com, Acela trip cancellations continue as the aging Acela Express fleet turns to dust before our very eyes. Various sources have indicated that these trains have been cannibalized for a year now because sets are so long in the tooth that parts are otherwise unavailable. Let's hope the remaining sets can hang in there long enough for the new Acela 2 sets to arrive in spring of this year, and let's hope spring means March instead of June. Speaking of the Acela 2 sets, Ameristar is rearing its head once more, wanting to partner up with Amtrak to privately finance 76 additional Acela 2 sets with the goal of creating a 100% Acela 2 fleet that would include coach service, replacing all other Amtrak rolling stock on the corridor. What do you guys think? Sounds unlikely, but also pretty cool. At a minimum, Ameristar's wild ideas are fun to entertain. In more conventional positive news, the third and last arch has been installed on the Portal North Bridge over the Hackensack River in New Jersey. NJ Transit has posted a 2-year time-lapse video showing construction up through the installation of the first 2 arches. Link in the description. Amtrak has not updated completion percentage, but the project is clearly progressing, still down for 2027 completion. Now let's look at some Amtrak numbers. Very solid going into winter so far. Keep in mind these reports run 2 months behind, and the latest available is for December. Some minor improvements month over month, not surprising since these are strong results. Year over year operating earnings up 100% nearly across the board. That sets up the year to come. Ridership overall is on target, up about 6% so far from the record year last year, with revenue and earnings indicating strong ticket prices. That'll do it for the NEC. Let's say goodbye to Acela, and we'll quickly check in with the federal government. I just wanted to show the shift in next year's FRA grant calendar. The last couple of years grant season has started around November. That's been pushed back 4 or 5 months into 2026. So the only FRA grant announcements this year will be FSP National, which also moves back a month to May. Maybe that's for the best considering the potential tumult from the current administration otherwise. With that, we'll say good riddance to the federal government. And now it's time for Stu's Boo Boos, where I go over everything I missed or got wrong last month. Would you look at that? No boo boos. Whew, it's been a while. That is a silver star for me. In addition, you all missed the High Desert Corridor grant applications from January, which I found, so you lose 1 gold star. No worries, you still have a huge lead at 18 gold stars. Boo-boo free silver stars for me, ticking up to 6. I've been doing this almost 2 years. 1 in 4 months without an error isn't the best rate. As always, if you find a boo-boo in this presentation or something I missed, let me know in the comments. If it's a good one, you win a prize. A big thanks to the Stu Crew Discord channel for all of their assistance. If you'd like to join our motley crew, check out the link in the description. At the end of last year, Superthanks were going toward a new render computer. After some issues, I am happy to report that is working and should be ready to contribute to future videos shortly. If you'd like to contribute to the channel mission with Superthanks, check out the button below the video. And one last big thanks to our sponsor, the High Speed Rail Alliance, for their support. By now you should know about the link in the description. Plenty more videos to come. I have no idea what is next. All of your favorite channel series other than Stu's News are up for grabs, so let me know what you'd like to see next in the comments. If you pick a good topic, I'll give you a shout out. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big beautiful freeway.